Do the holidays make you want to hide instead of celebrate? What if this year could be different? Imagine walking into a family gathering or a work event or even holiday parties feeling free, confident, and unmessable, ready to handle the most dreaded conversations with ease. I'm Crystal, and today on Empower Me Monday, we're turning holiday dread into an opportunity for freedom, power, and authentic connection. Let's make this season one that you actually enjoy. The holidays are here, and completion is the greatest gift you could give yourself and others. By letting go of resentment and embracing these tough conversations, you actually free yourself from the weight of the past. So, this season, let's clear the air, heal what's unresolved, and create space for the things that you desire. We have all been there. Something someone said or did hurt us. And instead of addressing it, we just swept it under the rug. And maybe we told ourselves it wasn't that big of a deal, or we've avoided it because we didn't want to rock the boat or deal with the other person's reaction. But here's the truth: unspoken words have weight. And who's carrying that weight? We are. They linger in our minds, affect our relationships, even with others, and often manifest as stress, anxiety, and they create distance between us and people, literally disconnect us with people. So we feel lonely and completely disconnected. Now, let's be clear here. Tough conversations are universal, but they are not universal in execution. And communication is an art, really. Like any art, it requires practice, empathy, and self awareness. Different generations, cultures, and family systems have vastly different approaches to difficult conversations. What might feel direct and honest to you could feel confrontational to someone else. For example, in some cultures, direct confrontation is seen as disrespectful, and in others, it's a sign of deep trust and understanding. And these nuances are extremely important. So let's talk about the challenges that can arise when communication breaks down. Unaddressed issues fester and grow. Avoiding these conversations might feel easier in the moment, but unresolved issues have a huge cost. And over time, they build resentment, creating emotional distance and tension in that relationship. And with others as well. Other people feel it. You know that when you have a problem with your mom, your siblings are like, oh, great, here we go. It causes tension with everyone around you. Or those friends that just don't get along, that makes every other friendship uncomfortable. So they just don't want to invite either of you. Now, miscommunication and assumptions take root when we don't express ourselves clearly or listen actively. And these misunderstandings can create unnecessary conflict and prevent true understanding. And the longer you let these things go unaddressed, the worse it gets. Next, your relationships can feel superficial or strained because let's face it, when you are avoiding telling someone how you feel, you're actually being inauthentic. And without open and honest communication, even those close relationships can feel disconnected. Even small, unresolved, very small, can literally erode trust and intimacy over time. It really doesn't matter the scale of how big or small something is. Small things need to be resolved as well. Now, the key to overcoming these challenges is to approach conversations with the intention of resolving the issue, to have empathy, curiosity, and a willingness to understand the other person's perspective. When we commit to practicing clear, compassionate communication, we create deeper, more meaningful connections in our everyday lives. Tough conversations do not have to come from a place of anger or blame. Actually, they shouldn't either. They can actually come from a place of peace. So when we approach these discussions with the intention to heal rather than to hurt, we actually create an environment for safety and understanding. But here's something very important. These conversations require self-care. So before you even start or go and have conversations with people, you actually need to stop and check in with yourself. And here is my self-care preparation checklist. One, I need to remind myself of the care and love that I have for that person. Why am I so upset in the first place? Is it because trust was broken and all I want is to experience trust? And that's really a good thing, right? So I have to recognize I actually do care. Two is acceptance, recognizing that both you and the other person are human. Both people's feelings are valid. Their experiences are valid. Three, compassion. Be willing to see things from their perspective. You really do have to be okay with your perspectives being different because it is. No matter what, we're all coming from a point of view, and that view is valid. You just need to accept that the other person's view is valid as well. If you want acceptance, we have to also give acceptance. And my biggest check-in is emotional regulation. You need to check in with your emotional state before initiating any conversation. When I am emotional or deeply triggered by someone's behavior or actions, it is always a signal that something is unresolved from the past and it's being stirred up. So in these moments, I know that having a conversation is not the answer, at least not yet. It is going to be completely ineffective and even cause damage because there is no space for the conversation to be productive when emotions are running high. So the first thing to do is to get clear on why I am triggered and address the root cause of that trigger. Once I've worked through my emotions and I've found clarity, then I can approach the conversation from a grounded and empowered place. Now, to help with this, I've created a free workbook called Discover Your Power Through Your Trigger. I'll link it in the description box below so that you can have it. This tool will guide you through neutralizing emotions and gaining clarity before having these very important conversations. Now, let's talk about how to have these conversations. Having effective conversations is a skill, and like any skill, they improve with practice. So here are your practices. One, you want to set the intention. Ask yourself, what do I want to create in this relationship? What's the future I'd like to create? And then focus on connection, not confrontation. You want to resolve this instead of being right about it. The whole point is to resolve it, complete it, clear it up. Now, after you've set the intention, you need to look at your potential outcomes. Now, I want you to go through 3 possible outcomes. The best case outcome, which is what you're actually intending to have, which is mutual understanding and a possible future between the two of you. And then the second would be a challenging case, which would be maybe partial resolution or the agreement to disagree. Now, the worst case is it's left incomplete. Maybe you guys can agree on getting professional mediation, like a coach or therapist, but ultimately that's the worst case situation. It doesn't get complete in that conversation, and maybe you guys can go back to square one or get professional help. The next thing you want to do is make sure that there is proper timing. Timing is everything. You need to choose a time that you're calm, that they're calm, and you need to choose the environment that is going to empower both of you, a private setting, and you want to ensure both of you are emotionally available. Next, once you get in the conversation, you want to use communication techniques like I statements instead of you statements. For example, I feel unheard versus you never listen and you make me feel like blah, blah, blah. You don't want to accuse people. You just need to communicate your feelings and the impact that their actions or inactions have on you. That's it. I feel like I can't trust you and I don't want to feel that way. How can we resolve this? There's a good question. If somebody came at me like that, I'd be like, oh my God, let's resolve this. What could I do? It's a different conversation. Now, the next thing, you want to actively listen. Let them share without interrupting. I can sometimes interrupt people, and I really have to be intentional about letting people finish and acknowledging their feelings and how this occurs for them. Even if I don't agree, just acknowledge what they said. Make sure that they are left heard. That is very important. And finally, in these conversations, complete one conversation at a time. Make sure each conversation gets complete before you move on. This is where a lot of us make mistakes. You don't just let someone spill their thoughts and take you all over the freaking place. No, when you have a question or when you have a concern, don't step over it. Make sure that that gets complete before moving on to the next conversation. When you complete conversations from the past, you create space for something possible, for new possibilities, and you stop carrying the weight of old hurts. You step into a lighter, more joyful way of being. Completion isn't just about resolving conflict, it's actually about personal transformation. It strengthens your relationship, not only with others, but also yourself. It allows you to be fully present, and it teaches others that forgiveness and vulnerability are powerful acts of courage. Truly, this will have you experience your own power, where you know yourself as someone who doesn't step over things. You can hold yourself and others accountable for greatness. You have deeper, more authentic relationships, and this builds trust. And you actually start to experience safety, and you will find yourself way more emotionally freed up. The things that once bothered you don't any longer. Now, one of the hardest situations is when someone completely shuts down and refuses to engage in repairing that relationship. It's painful and it can leave us feeling powerless and stuck in unresolved emotions. But here's what there is to do. Number one, you want to accept what you can't control. We all go through this at some point. Everybody does. You want to understand that you cannot force someone to talk or work things out. Their silence is their choice. And while it's hard to sometimes accept, it's important that you focus on what you can control, your own thoughts, feelings, and actions. So from there, you want to seek closure within yourself. Closure and completion is actually not outside of you. It is actually in here. You can be fully empowered no matter what, no matter what. And I want to leave you here with that. Of course, it's important to have conversations. Your power, though, is in here. It is not out here. So you want to seek closure within yourself. And it comes from taking responsibility for something. So I want you to take time to reflect on the relationship, acknowledge what happened, acknowledge your feelings, and work through any pain or resentment by journaling, meditating, or speaking to a therapist or a coach that can really help you to get grounded. What were the things that you stepped over? Did you ever step over anything about how you felt? What was unresolved that you were just pretending would just go away? And now how to do that is going to be step 3. Forgive for your own peace, whether you need to forgive yourself for things that you stepped over or things that you pretended or withheld or avoided, that this is the result now. A relationship with somebody doesn't want to have anything to do with us. And we think we're being nice. It doesn't go well. We have to learn how to forgive ourselves, but take responsibility and never do that again. It's an opportunity for growth. But then also there's forgiving them. And forgiveness doesn't mean excusing their behavior or allowing them back into your life. It just means releasing the hold that their actions have on you and restoring your own power. You want to forgive so that you can move forward without carrying any of this with you. Number 4, you want to honor your growth. Sometimes people step away because they are not ready or able to handle growth or healing. So you need to focus on your own journey, continue to grow, and don't let anyone stop you because they're not doing it. You need to remain open to relationships that have reciprocity, that are healthy. You will thank yourself later, I promise. Number 5, you want to hold space without expectations. Okay. So if the person ever chooses to re-engage, you want to be open to hearing them out, but you don't put your life on hold or keep waiting for them. You need to live fully right now. Accept everything. Live fully. And if reconciliation comes, it will feel natural, not forced. 6, learn and move forward. Every relationship, good or bad, teaches us something. So you need to really reflect on these lessons from this experience and use them to strengthen your boundaries, communication, and self-awareness for future relationships. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is letting go. Not every relationship is meant to last, but every relationship is an opportunity to grow. It's a step toward experiencing the relationship you've always desired, but you have to become the person that you need to become in order to actually experience that. So you need to be focused on becoming the best version of yourself and trust that the right connections will come to you when you're aligned with peace and clarity. This week, I challenge you to reflect on one tough conversation that you've been avoiding and ask yourself, what could open up if I had this conversation? What would it feel like to finally let it go? Am I ready to approach this with love, acceptance, and compassion? If not, go through the triggered workbook and remember, tough conversations are a journey. They are not a destination. But I promise you, each completion is worth it. Now, if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe and share this with someone who might need it. Let's spread the power of authentic communication and make this season and our lives about true connection and love. I'll see you next week. And remember, you've got this.